Mr. Robinson, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, man. I did some research, and first things first, I wanted to give you some props for using your voice to get some action done at your old school. A lot of people might not know this, especially on the East Coast, but I saw what you did reaching out to your former head coach at Boise State and kind of, had that discussion with him. I wanted to make sure I gave you props for that. A lot of the reason I even know who that is because my wife is a big Auburn fan. So having him come to the school now, it's like kind of like the third degree here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted
No
to give you
worries.
mad props on that.
Nah, sports has always been a platform for social change, and I think that when you know, uh, once the dust settles on things, I think we realize, and we'll look back on that as just an opportunity to create some social change that thankfully he did, and um, obviously that sentiment was felt around the country. You saw how other coaches began to make statements. You saw how other players began to make statements, and I don't, I don't, I don't take credit for stuff because I know I'm not the only person doing the work, but I can definitely say I was one of the people doing the work, and I'm thankful that I was willing to do the work, and I'm also thankful that people like Coach Harsin were willing to be agile in their thinking a little bit and create a space for some change as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I thought it was a really big statement by not only you, but also him as well to actually hear your words and hear your, the passion in what you were saying and actually come up and have a mind to speak to it. Cause a lot of times people in power like that will just, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to keep moving on, because in some ways I understand that people are, worried about affecting, their place or their standing or something like that. So, for you to reach out and, kind of semi put him on the spot and then for him to react like that, I thought, you know, instigating change like that is always a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to give you mad props on that. That was awesome.
No, no worries, man. Shit.
So, first things first, I always like to start with is tell me and the listeners and the viewers a little bit about your athletic career and from playing high school ball. You're from Los Angeles, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then
So
ended up playing at Boise State. So you just go ahead and take it from there.
yeah, man. So I started playing ball when I was six. I think I told you before we started recording. My dad was a coach for 30 years at Locke High School. He had played college football at Grambling State University, and I kind of grew up just it's what's the family business, to be quite honest. Now my cousins played at LSU. Cousins played or had a cousin play and won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. My brothers played, and I'm at the bottom of all of that. So it was just a natural thing for me. And I just think just going to work with my dad was really what really created and turned it into like a strong love and passion and just this thing that I was obsessed with and couldn't do without. Went from there, went played for him at quarterback, played quarterback and safety for him at University High School, played varsity as a freshman, was kind of one of the more elite known prep players here during that time. And we had a lot of success there. And then I went on to Boise State, was fortunate enough to play in two BCS Fiesta Bowls. Well, redshirted in one and played in another, and experienced that whole ride and developing and creating that program and being able to play a role in that. But yeah, man, that's my football story. I played all sports growing up. I was just always a kid, just moving around, competing. And when your dad's a coach, and you got a brother. My brother's 2 years older than me, so a lot of the times it was us just trying to occupy our time, and we'd be running around the gymnasium and doing pull-ups and climbing walls and picking up baseballs and doing all this stuff. And I just think being immersed in the game like that, just it's all I know really for that reason. I spent so much time there, because I go from his practices to my practices, and then I go home. So it's just this 24-hour cycle of sports and football and competition. I love it. And I love, more than anything, I love how it developed me and created me, or I should say created me, but gave me an opportunity to learn a lot of the soft skills that now show up every day in life.
When do you feel like you actually fell in love with the sport? Because it sounds like, at 6 years old, beginning to play and being around your dad, and it was kind of, one of those things that it
Yeah.
sounded like it was inevitable that you were going to end up playing at some point. Was there a singular moment that you felt like you really fell in love with the game?
Yeah, I can't say, not really, to be honest. I tried to quit football when I was like 10, and my dad was like, that was like one of the first times I got in trouble, and it was like, yo, you don't quit nothing. You start something, you finish it. And I love basketball more. Like I loved basketball. So I don't know, man. I will say when I was 13, my eighth grade year, I had a chance to play with for switch teams. I played for a team called Inglewood, the Inglewood Sentinels here, and crazy team. Like we were insane. We had like 10 guys, I think, and at the end of the day, go D1 off that team, maybe even more. One of them was Orlando Scandrick from the Cowboys, who ended up playing with me at Boise as well. And that year was my first championship. Like we went 14-0. We got scored on one time the entire season, and that was in the championship game, and we beat that team 46-6. It was the best team you'd ever see. It's not. We're humble guys because we all, we're grown now. We don't talk about when we was kids, but if you really want to talk about Pop Warner teams, we got scored on one time the entire season. Let's just say that. So, but that year, I think just like tasting the championship and being like, I think that's when it kind of hit another level for me, because it was like, yo, like you're good at this, and being a champion is cool, and you start getting better. Like when you start thinking like a champion, you start doing different things. So then you start finding different things, and then it gets really fun. So then ironically, that next year I played varsity at quarterback, and it was just like, I remember that year. That year it was probably, that was it. It was in that window, like 13, 14 was like, okay, football might need to be the thing. And then what happened was my sophomore year in high school, I had knee surgery in the off season after the football season. And normally I just, like any other athlete, I go basketball, football, whatever. So that year I had surgery in April, and my dad was like, you know, look, man, you're 5'10", you're probably not going to go to the NBA. You can't really shoot like that. I mean, you think you can shoot, but you can't. I knew I was kind of. I asked my dad who reminded me, who I reminded him of playing basketball, and he said Bob Cousy, and I was like, well, I don't got a shot. Like, if I'm a black kid and you telling me I remind you of Bob Cousy, I'm going backwards. So.
He was good in the 60s, though.
He was
60s,
good in
70s. Yeah,
60s.
he's a
He was
baller,
good
though.
but I watched the though. What
And
happened was
everyone,
he said that, and I watched the tape. And then I watched the tape because I knew him because throwback jerseys. So I'm like, oh, he's a Hall of
for
Famer.
sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. Nice guy. I watched the tape. I'm like, hold on, man. What are you trying to say? I play like Bob. Nah. So, but that year he told me, like, man, straight up, you need to start thinking about, the future and planning and being practical. And, you had knee surgery, you're not that great at basketball. Maybe focus your time and start focusing on football full time. And that was the first year I didn't play basketball in my life. And in that season, um, I didn't clear to run until 2 weeks before the first game. And my junior year in high school, man, I don't know, I went crazy. And that was when and I was already on a lot of people's radar because I played varsity as a 9th grader and 10th grader, and I was doing well, I was all conference player. But my junior year, like, it just changed. And from there, man, I just loved it, man. I just, it's, for sure. It's just one of those things. Once it bites you and you get on that thing, it's like, all right, well, whatever. Everything else is on timeout. I'm playing this football.
Right.
So it was good, man. I still love it, obviously.
What was if you don't mind me asking, what was the knee injury that you had?
So I had remember Greg Oden, basketball player?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that whole bone on bone thing. Like, yeah, I had that in my knee. So a piece of my femur, the bottom of my femur had come off and created a basically an empty gap or wedge in
Hmm.
the bottom of my femur. And every time I would run, it would catch every now and then, and my leg would give. So basically what they had to do to fix that is take the piece out, do that, but then they go in there and then they drill into the femur to create blood flow to get back to that area so the bone can regrow. And then you
Hmm.
have to do the whole glucosamine, chondroitin stuff, hope that cartilage repairs. Cartilage never really repairs. But you're young. I was young enough to where I still had some regenerative years in me. And it was, my doctor actually performed my surgery. He played running back at Stanford, and he told me, pre-op, he's like, I'm honest. He's a family friend. He was like, you'll never be the same. He's like, just telling you now. He's like, I'm gonna be really honest with you. He's like, I didn't want to tell your dad this. I know, like, he's like, you're gonna have, you're counting the time from here on out. Because it was one of those surgeries. It's not that it was such a bad surgery, but having it so young, and I was never a super fast guy to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So like, it me losing a step was a big deal.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so, but that was that, man. Thankfully, I was able to finish out my high school campaign and still play and achieve my dream, and go to college and do everything. But yeah, man, it's a painful surgery, man. It's a painful surgery. A lot of guys it happens now. They have the ankle version of the same injury, and it's a very painful surgery, very painful rehab process.
Yeah, definitely. I've had three knee surgeries at this point, one lower leg surgery, man. So I'm like, it ain't no fun. Did you have, as you were growing up, you mentioned you got into football when you were about 6 and your family was really tied with it. Did you have any other interests growing up? Were you, cause I mean, I remember I used to smoke cats in the neighborhood on, Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
kids used to play video games. Did you get anything like that?
I played. I mean, my brother and I played. We competed at everything, so we played every game. That was the cool thing about having a brother, or is cool about having a brother 2 years older than me. Is like we're close in age, and we get a lot of that stuff. So yeah, but beyond that, like, believe it or not, I wanted to be an astronaut first. That was the
Wow.
I wanted to be an astronaut. I went to space camp. I went to San Jose to space camp when I was a kid. Convinced my grandmother and my mom to send me up there. Went through the whole simulation stuff, and I was convinced that I was going to be an astronaut. And at that time, I was at Overwright Middle School. I went to Overwright Middle School after that, joined the computer science program, and that was when I started to get interested in, like, just nerdy stuff, man. It was just the thing about technology in me was my mom's a teacher, so I would get stuff like that most kids wouldn't get. So she's getting laptops from school or whatever, or encyclopedias, and bringing them home, and I'm breaking it, and I'm just like, all right, or taking it, and it's mine now, and I'm just, internet. She had to have internet. She's an educator, so we got the internet super early, and I was always into that type of stuff. Always into that type of stuff. Um, Stocks, investing. I did a lot of that. Like, I was pretty, the cool thing about growing up in a family like mine, I didn't have to worry about much growing up because everything, everybody around me was, successful, stable, wasn't too much drama. I mean, every family has, their own, no one's perfect. I'll say that, or no family's perfect. But I was pretty, as the youngest, I was pretty sheltered. Some other people higher in the birth order had things different ways, but for my positioning, I didn't have much to worry about. So at that time, I was learning, picking up gadgets, breaking stuff. I had the creative freedom to do that and the space to do that. So I was definitely interested in other stuff, man, for sure. But nothing really was. It was like everything mattered until it was practice.
Hmm.
Like, all of those things were like things that were just things I filled the time with before practice, for sure.
Absolutely. So, do you feel like you accomplished everything that you wanted to in your playing career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much. I mean, outside of going to the league and winning the Super Bowl, uh, I don't really know what else I could have done. Um, I think we always look back and think, you remember the losses. So I think more, like, that's the one thing. I think I wish I would have done more of everything I did. But I mean,
Mm.
it was nothing more. We won everything. started for a major team. We're number 3 team in the country. We held, win streak records that some of them stand today and some of them stand forever. Got a chance to bring my team out and be recognized as a captain on one of the world's biggest stages, and win. Yeah, I just wish we would have done more of that. But I mean, it's crazy, man. You asked that because I wanted all of the stuff that I got. Like, I really wanted it. Like,
Right.
it's when I was a kid in Louisiana, or not in Louisiana, but I'd go home to Louisiana in the summer and play with my cousins, and we used to. It was all about that football game, and it was when my cousins would come out the house on the right side, my other cousins from Mississippi come out on the left side, and when our parents would cut the leash, we'd go out there and it cool down, and we'd have this game, and it was every day. This game was our game, and in the 4th of July when they started selling fireworks, we go into town, we buy the fireworks, we line them up on the side and have like a Super Bowl like come out party, like you coming out. Yeah, we used to my brother, Brandon Robinson, who played at LSU, Draper Robinson, my cousin Willie, man, we used to play, and it was all about this game. So that's what I really loved. And the fact that I got a chance to do that in college, that's why I feel like it's nothing more like that's what I wanted. I really just when the day when I brought my team out, man, at the Fiesta Bowl, like those pictures I look at now, even me, Kellen Moore, Jerron Johnson, Kyle Wilson, George Iloka, Daryl Acree, and I'm coming out and I got the hammer, and you got the the cascade of fans in the behind all the way up to the top of Glendale Stadium, and we got, and I look and I just sometimes I just look through it now and I'm like, man, like that you did that, bro, like because I really I wanted that type of stuff because it was how I learned the game. It was all about that. It was just so yeah. I don't know, man. Like just more
Yeah.
of it, more of it. But we did it all. I, played varsity 4 years both ways. City Player of the Year, school record touchdowns. I played at Boise State, man. Like we were the number 3 team in the country. Like to have everybody on that team. Everybody on that team achieved something that very few people will ever in the history of human existence get a chance to achieve. And that's going 14-0 and being recognized as the top 3 in the world, because nobody else played this in the world like us. We did in the world, on the planet. So, and as far as we know, in the solar system, okay? So we the top. We're the top, what was it, 85 on the roster or 80 on the roster, whatever. We're the top 240 players in the universe at that time for that. Like, I mean, shit, more. That's it.
Did you, first of all, I got to make a comment about the pageantry when you're like an 11 or 12-year-old kid and the bottle rockets. And that is, my friends were little hooligans. So we never, there was no way in hell my parents are going to let me buy fireworks. We'd have been shooting them at each other and stuff. But
bro, we had halftime shows, bro.
That is so awesome.
We would have full on halftime shows like the Super Bowl with live fireworks off Highway 79 in Louisiana. And we'd be out there playing tackle football on the farm, knocking people into the peas. And then it was everything, man. It was everything. It was really dope, man. It was really amazing. Until you fall on an anthill, then it's ugly. Then I'm still a city kid, So that's the thing. The brothers down, some of my cousins, they know what to do to get. They just had to get me dirty a little bit, and they slow me down because I wasn't out. They go grab a rattlesnake with their hand type stuff. I'm still from LA, so they rough me up a little bit, put some dirt in me, throw some ants at me, and now all of a sudden I'm all right. I'll play quarterback. I'll be quarterback.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you make an attempt at playing in the NFL, or was that something that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I did. I made an attempt, and it was definitely something I wanted to pursue. I came out that year, the lockout happened, and it was a tough year for a lot of people that were in my position, that were kind of classified as undrafted free agents at best. And
Mm.
the reason why it was tough was because the teams had no contact with guys, and they couldn't go through the same process that they normally would do in a year to figure out who they wanted. Um, and but very quickly into that process of trying, it just started to the the why was changing a lot quicker. And I remember it was a day I had to work out in Chattanooga for, I forget, it was like a CFL mini camp or something. And I just was there and I was just like, man, I'm like, what is it? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, my body was aching. I felt like shit. I was in Tennessee hungry. I'm like, icing up my ankle in the trash can in the hotel the night before because I sprained my ankle on a workout before. I got a damn machine in the hotel. I'm lugging this stuff around. I'm just like, it's something hit me right then, and I didn't have it no more. I didn't have it. I didn't have that same burn. And then I just kind of like from there, I just stopped trying, and I think, with anything in life, man, if you keep trying long enough, you will make it. And I think a lot of guys have proven that have gone on that same type of journey I've been on and end up cracking the league, whether it be, overseas in the GFL or in England in the BAFA league or in the CFL or down like there's opportunities everywhere. If you keep going, I just think, man, I ran out of gas, man. Also, I had a pretty big back injury in college.
Mm.
That I'm actually dealing with some pain from that right now. I had a rough morning with it. And when you out there doing these workouts on your own, you don't got no training staff. You don't have the expensive equipment. You got a foam roller, a golf ball, a tennis ball, and or whatever size ice bucket that the motel carries. You know what I'm saying? So like it just shit was hurting, man. I ain't had no more, and I just had to move on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you, when you were playing or like in your high school career or in your college career, did you have a plan for your retirement after you were going to be done with the game?
I wouldn't say a plan for retirement because I didn't even like, back then we called it just a plan B, right? Like, what's your backup plan? That was the thing, what you gonna do? Yeah, I did. And um, that was what I'm doing now and being in a working entrepreneurship. In 10th grade, high school, I had also kind of developed a bug for hustling in business and, trying to turn two into four and four into mo. And I sold Jordans, I sold CDs, was one of the, selling stuff online early, buying DVDs for one price, selling them for another. Just always just love that, my dad was very he had five kids, so I'm the youngest, and you know we wouldn't always get enough to really keep up with the Joneses in a city like LA. So I kind of had to learn how to make that margin up elsewhere. And I would do that, and I enjoyed that, and I did. And I would always, in class, I would always kind of space out and have this crazy idea and just start working on logos and drawing and shit like that. And um, that I knew that when I was done, that was going to be the first place I was going to go. My uncle had ran a mortgage company, was doing pretty well. My great grandfather was a farmer. I had some stuff in my, ecosystem that could just give me some like, hey, I could do that or I could do that. And that was my thing. And I always wanted to be, I remember my uncle, man, my uncle had a mortgage company. Like I said, and he's always have a, nice suit on and always had a nice car, nice house. And you go to his company, and I used to love, him, watching him lead his team and run his team and, talk to his teammates and kind of see the camaraderie and just like, it was like, man, that's an operation, like I wanted to do that. And create too. Like being creative is something I was always, designing stuff, drawing stuff, video editing. I was that guy making, in college I had a poetry show on Facebook, like
All right.
back when no one was doing shows, but I had like a whole segment edited and had titles, and like I was always So I knew it was going to be something in that space and I was going to find a way, but it would change though. Like what that looked like would change as I found in new interests and kind of grew. That's the other thing about going to college and playing football. Like you travel a lot more, you know, see different parts of the country, and you get the chance to spend the time in places where you might not have been and meet people that you might not have. And through those interactions and experiences come new ideas oftentimes, and new passions and new interests. So that was starting to happen for me a little bit when I was getting older too. But yeah.
What was the first business that you started?
The first business I had was a clothing line called About That Life Clothing.
I love that saying, by the way. I use that pretty much on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was the problem. Everybody loved it, and I couldn't lock up any IP on it because everybody loved it. So it was like
Right.
it was tough. It was 85 knockoff websites doing it, or other websites. Who knows who was knocking who off? But yeah, I loved it though, man. It was great. So I was just telling somebody else this too. So the thing about the clothing line was, and what I think is so special about that story is, you know, that was really a response to just what I knew. You know, growing up on TVs, when you talk about Black entrepreneurs, very few you'd find out about. I'll take that back. You knew about your inventors, right? I knew about my George Washington Carvers. I knew about, Booker T's. You knew all of that, but when you talk about contemporary, modern day, there wasn't a whole lot. A lot of people that were promoted and propped up were in the entertainment, sports and entertainment, right? Now, the exceptions to that rule were some of the younger rappers turned entrepreneurs, thinking Fubu or thinking Russell Simmons, thinking
Jay-Z.
Rockaware, exactly, and No Limit and things like that. That was starting to happen. So for me, that was like the most obvious place to go. It was the one thing I could get started on that I could see someone else being successful in that same capacity. And it was easy, you go downtown, get this, you get the screen printer, and I was fly too. That was the thing. I liked clothes, so I would buy clothes, and I'm like, yo, I can make a better shirt than Rockaware. Let me go ahead and prove it. So I did that at first, and then that, as ambitious guys like ourselves oftentimes, or ambitious people rather like ourselves often do, it's like, okay, what's next? And then that it turned into a screen printing, graphic design deal, to some cut and sew work that I was doing, French terry, crew necks and sweats. And it was like athleisure before athleisure was athleisure. And I was working with a designer out of Nike, and we had built this whole deal, and it cost me a lot of money. And that's how that went. It just it wouldn't, it was getting expensive. I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. Fashion is tough. You got to have a different type of network and relationships to be able to scale a business there. And well, you also have to know what the hell you're doing, which I can't say I did, but yeah, man, it was good though. I think working on a tough business, like, was great for me, right? Like it was really great because if you can sell a t-shirt, you can sell an innovative concept, because a t-shirt is a commodity. There's no difference between the t-shirt you got on and the t-shirt at Walmart. If you're going to buy $100 t-shirt over a $1 t-shirt, you got to really, really compete and drive some value. So if you can sell something in that space, you figure something out. But scaling in that space is a whole nother thing. And, I think what I was able to take from that experience is just proving to myself that I could sell in a space where there were competitors, and that gave me all the confidence I needed to keep going and end up doing what I'm doing now.
So with perfect parlay into my next question is what is the business that you have going on now? I know that you're doing, I know what it is, but for the listeners and viewers, it's got football meshed with virtual reality. It's really, kind of it's as innovative as it gets. And during a pandemic where people are sitting at home and have, athletes need repetition, what is that for you? What are you doing with that?
Right. So Playbook Five is a learning platform that gives athletes and coaches the opportunity to practice remotely using virtual reality. And this is it's a product and a service that is um, excuse me, an extension of kind of some things I experienced in my own playing career with learning multiple positions, um, having injuries, and trying to find different ways to get better and get more, visualization reps. So we started the company in 2016. You know, it was really back then. It was something that no one was really talking about. Very few people were talking about, I should say, and in a space very few people were working in. But we saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity. I trusted that I could develop a team that could bring the vision to fruition, and we got started. And in that time, we had a chance to work with NFL players. Our core customer base, our high school teams and youth coaches. We also service colleges as well. So yeah, man, it's a great tool, great product. I'm obviously completely biased because it's like one of my brainchild, or brain children rather. But it's a really cool concept. I think it's every industry like ends up needing innovation to sustain and to continue. And thinking about football specifically, in 1918, I believe it was 1918 or 1908. Fact check me, but they were going to take the game away because people were dying. It was too much contact. It was becoming, a net loss at the end of the
The
day.
wedge.
Exactly, right. So at that same time, there was an innovation that was introduced to the game that ended up saving it, and that was the forward pass. And how the forward pass spread out the game and took away some of the needless contact and sparked a different way of thinking and game call and game play design and play calling and a whole different experience. Obviously, Parker did that, and that was an innovation now that gave us a chance to experience football the way we do now 100 years later. So I really see Playbook Five and tools like Playbook Five as being those type of innovations, things that we can plug into the game that can shift the way we're doing things, improve the way we're doing things, and give us a longer, or really extend our horizon. Because the reality of the situation is players get hurt. Like I said, my back is killing me right now, like killing me. Like that's football, and it's okay. I get it. It's just it's a casualty of war. I decided but that does not mean you stop there. You still have to do everything you can to ensure or to try to make sure that people are no longer having to go get those type of injuries and improving things. So that's the type of energy we bring to the industry. That's the type of impact we foresee ourselves having. And I'm just, I wish I would have had it, when I was a kid. But I'm glad that myself and my team are building this and providing this service for coaches and athletes.
It's like the old, I heard a saying somewhere, and I don't know if you watch a lot of mixed martial arts, but that's one of my favorite, sports that I'm passionate about. And they've taken a lot of their physical contact sparring, like full hardcore sparring, out of it. Like if you look at a lot of the top athletes in the sport now, even you look at the NFL and professional athletes, they're not doing a lot of contact full pad practices like back in the day where, I think for the most part, even now, two-a-days is pretty much out of the question. At least two full padded practices where they're banging and slanging each other, that doesn't really exist anymore. And a lot of it is to take that, concussions have become such a big part of the game, injuries. Everyone's heard a story of, losing your star player, in a two-a-day practice or something like that. So I think what you're doing is it's giving athletes and coaches an opportunity to from like a technical perspective, it's like upgrading the software without
Yeah.
damaging the hardware.
Yes. Precisely.
Right. So it's this whole game, any activity that you participate in my perspective, is all, if you want to be great at it or you want to get better at it, it's all repetition at the end of the day. And there's no way to cheat it. There's no way to bypass that. Even the physical freaks, top of the food chain guys, have had, if they had a clicker on the side of their head, like a HUD, like a heads up display, you could see how many repetitions they had at running power or running a slant. If you're a wide receiver, it'd be up in the tens of thousands at that point when you make it to the league. So if you're able to do this without taking these physical hits on your body, I think it's a brilliant idea. And I think you're dead on the money when it comes to being an innovative product that's going to extend the lifespan of athletes and the game that we both love.
For sure.
One thing I wanted to ask you about it though, if I'm a high school head coach, right? And I'm trying to find out more about this product. Is there, when my player puts the screen on, right? And is it like with an Oculus, or is it with like your typical, like your iPhone or Android or something like that?
Right. So virtual reality, there's a couple ways to do it. You can experience virtual reality with an Oculus, like you said, an Oculus headset. An HTC Vive's another one. Lenovo has a headset. Intel has a headset. Those are all like standalone devices. And Google also has a device that's called Google Cardboard. And what Google Cardboard allows you to do is to create or experience virtual reality in conjunction with your smartphone device. That's what we use. We use that because, really, quite honestly, that is the way we can get this into the hands of everybody. When I created this tool and thought about creating this tool, I did not want to create something that was only available for the elite, right? Like, I wanted there to be equitable access to the tool. And, we had to design a product that could be, one, understood by the entire market, afforded by the entire market, right? So that's why we use it the way we use it. And what we found is we can go further, quicker with it and still deliver on everything that you would need or want or expect from an Oculus viewer as well. I've done hundreds of different virtual reality projects and experiences at this point, applications across all platforms. There's nothing you're doing on an Oculus that you can't get done on in a smartphone right now, especially with some of the processing capabilities that we're seeing in the market right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question I have is, being a former coach myself, a lot of coaches don't utilize the same terminology.
Yep.
Like, one guy's calling, a power run like Pittsburgh, and another guy's running it 54. Is it customizable to the point that I can utilize my own terminology in the playbook, or is this broken down conceptually?
So you can add, well, the entire platform, if you become a customer, you can add your scheme. So we have a library of plays that are available should you want them. But any team can draw their plays up, and it doesn't just stop at plays. It can be anything from 7-on-7. We have clients that use it for 7-on-7. We have clients that use it for inside run. We have clients that use it for 2x2 coverage setups. We have clients that use it for blitz pickup. We have clients that use it for, doing drills and simulations that help you track pullers and guards and different, anything you can draw, we create for you. And all of that, obviously, with the experience and the actual simulations are yours, but the terminology is yours. You call it what you want. It's your names. It's completely your system on our platform. And then also, one of the other cool things we do that I think is one of our top features is everybody talks about pre-snap key reads and read keys and this and that. Well, who actually, what metric do we have to train people on that, or what tool do we have to train people on that? Nothing really, other than just trusting that guy looks at his key. Well, and within our experience, we've programmed pre-snap key reads into that. So what that means is, for every play that you upload or every scenario you create, you can establish and designate a pre-snap key read for each player. And our system will read whether or not that player has identified his pre-snap key read. And all of that becomes a part of your player profile, essentially. So, if you're a coach, you can go in, and you mentioned that earlier, you mentioned that you can see those 10,000 reps a guy's done. Well, not quite, over his career, but right now, our clients go in and they can see every single rep that their players have run and what plays from what position and whether or not they've read their pre-snap key read or not. And the way what they're able to do with that data essentially is start to really create dynamic playbooks, figure out how to create different lineups that can be more efficient, get guys in positions they want to be in. Coaches always talk about what's the best call, the best call. My dad would always say, the best call is not what the coach thinks is the best call. The best call is what the hell your player knows. That's the best call.
Mm.
You can't execute what I tell you to do, then that's not a good call. So we give you that insight into what your players know, where they're comfortable at, what they're studying. So now you can start to put your players in more winning position in the game.
So now that leads me into, first of all, are you guys selling stock yet? Because I feel
Yeah,
like not
holla.
any insider trading or anything, but when you guys start doing that, I would love me some stock, because it sounds like from my perspective, and being a quote unquote entrepreneur myself, my first thought with this whole thing, when you broke all of that down to me, my very next thought was, this is almost unlimitedly, I don't even know if that's a word, scalable.
It
This
is
can
now.
be football, this can be hockey, this can be baseball, this can be basketball, it could be anything that you're doing athletically. And for me, I don't know if you guys, I mean, obviously I don't know where you guys are in the stage of the process yet, but for me, I see this as being massive, man. And if people can just hear about this, what's the price running? What's like the plan that you guys working?
So it varies depending on how big your team is, how many plays you have, that type of stuff. But on average, you're going to expect to spend between 40 and 80 bucks per player. And that's going to get you everything. And again, that just varies depending on size and things of that nature. But to your first point, yeah, man, it's our immediate focus is obviously to um own football and address the needs in football. Um, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's always gonna be a lot of opportunity out there. I'll say that. But for us right now, it's really about how can we kind of fix these issues and amend some things in football, really, because that's the I played everything, but the community that I most associate with and most align with within sport is the football community. And I feel like through our success and how we address problems in football, I should say, will open up, the space for those opportunities in those other markets, and we'll be more prepared to take care of them. But yes, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to intuit the depth of range that this product can serve. But we're focused on doing that in a very methodical, timely manner that is in alignment with our goals.
Absolutely. The smart way to go about it. See, I jumped 2 or 3 steps ahead there. Got to slow my roll.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
So are you still active? Do you still, kind of going back to the athletic thing? I know that you mentioned that you had a back injury that's still kind of lingering for you. Do you, you have all this, business stuff, being a business owner. Do you still find time to stay physically active? Because I know with a lot of former athletes, man, when you start jumping in that career life, it becomes very, very difficult, especially with the higher up you go.
Yeah, thankfully, I never stopped moving since I was done. So I've been able to build a solid routine for myself. My dad raised me on push-ups. So like at the end of the day, if you could just do 100 push-ups type of thing, I'm not quite in a space where I can, you know, go spend 2 hours in the gym like I once could, but you know, I can always make 35, 45 minutes for a run. You know, the cool thing is now with the apps, like, you know, everything's on the phone. So I can get on, you know, Nike Club, Peloton, find a workout, you know, get something in right here in my living room. But yeah, I stay active, man. If you know, if I was feeling better, I'd probably be competing a lot more. But you know how these injuries get and just getting older. I golf. I love golf, but you know that's very, very, very demanding for my back sometimes, especially because I don't have the greatest technique. I'm not a PGA pro. I'm out just there hacking at the ball. So, but yeah, man,
Same.
I try to stay active and keep moving, man. It's, you know, body in motion stays in motion, you know. So my grandfather, you know, unfortunately passed about two and a half years ago now. He was 82. And up until his, you know, last, you
Sorry
know,
to hear that.
thank you, appreciate it. But up until his last, you know, moments, as long as he could, he was up around the house walking, you know, and exercising. And, you know, I have a lot of people like that in my life. So I try to stay active because I want to be like that too. I want to be, you know, I want to keep it because it does. It extends your life. It does. I mean, health is wealth. We all know that, but movement is so important, you know, the right movement, obviously, but movement is so important. Not being, you know, just stagnant and living a sedentary lifestyle, but being active and just it's better for you. I think you enjoy things more. I'm certainly happier when I am being more active than when I'm not. When I'm not being active, I'm kind of I'm not the guy you want to be with type thing. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I feel like it makes it for one thing, for me, it helps my mental clarity a lot. Helps me think better. Helps me think on my feet a little bit quicker. So if you could give, as we kind of, I got like two or three more questions here. If you could give a young athlete advice on being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, what would be your advice to them?
Uh, Shoot, man, just get started. You know, um, which sounds very cliche, but um, that I mean, right now, man, I think that with the internet, with the apps, with, you know, social media, with YouTube, you know, all the information and the motivation is out there. Like you know, everybody's a guru on Clubhouse. Everybody is everything. So I say that to say, there's no shortage of information out there with how to get things done. You can go online right now, find out how to start a company, how all the way from incorporation to acquisition. You can get a playbook, but that playbook don't mean diddly squat if you're not willing to do it and 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 do it. And the only way to work on that muscle of doing it is to actually get started and do it. You know,
Mm,
I got started when you talked about my first company. You know, that was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. And I'm still learning so much and figuring out how to grow a business and run a business, scale a business, and create jobs for people. But I got started. So, you know, get started. Just and not being worried about things being perfect or what your logo looks like and what the website looks like. And just get out there and like exercise the muscle of taking the first step. The
mm,
rest of the stuff will follow. Because what I found out every time is whenever I'm in a situation where I'm trying to, um, whatever I'm thinking is important, you know, prior to taking that step, you know, I always end up meeting the people that really should be doing that when I get further steps down the road. So
mm,
you be a stepper. The universe will bring in the logo guy. The universe will bring in your CFO. The universe will bring in your COO. The universe will bring in your investor. But you got to be a stepper, you know. So like, be a stepper. Get out there and do it, and just focus on that. And like, that's the hardest part. But you know how it is. We play ball, bro. when you get on that field, once you cross that line, you are officially a football player. It's just like business. So once you start and you take that first step, you're an entrepreneur, and just be an entrepreneur. So, but you cannot get that without taking a step. It don't work like that. You can't say you play football if you don't cross that line. No, you watched it very closely. You thought about it, probably but in order to say you have played football, you got to cross that line and go onto that field and take that step. So get started, take the step, and the rest will figure itself out.
I love that advice, man. That was a beautiful take on that. So as we kind of wrap this thing up, if I love asking this question, it's kind of more of a philosophical question. If you could go back and talk to the 16 or 18-year-old version of yourself and give them some advice, what would that advice be?
Stretch.
He said stretch.
I know you want like the really good answer, but
no, whatever you got,
stretch, man, like stretch, like stretch. Nah, man, I'm dead. Like seriously, like I didn't stretch, yo. I didn't stretch. There was no stretch. As soon as I smelled the ball moving, it didn't care about nothing else. I didn't warm up, no stretch. It was just like we were Highway 79. We just running out the house and going and hitting people, like and I say I would have told myself that because as you get older, man, I was talking today with Malcolm Smith. We work with him from Cleveland Browns, linebacker SC, and I was talking about my back, and he's like, because how it got like this was I went out there thinking that after sitting at my desk for a year in COVID and not swinging a golf club in 18 months, that I was all of a sudden conditioned to hit 250 balls off the couch.
I can feel my back locking up.
With no stretch.
Yeah.
But why didn't I stretch? Because that's how I conditioned myself from what I did when I was younger. I don't think about it. As soon as I get out the car at the range, I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to hit this first ball, and so stretch, man, just work on those things, because that's the stuff that's going to extend your career. And like I could be, if I took better care of my body, I could be playing more basketball right now, but I can't, because I'm always, I can't go up that way, or I don't want to put my foot down a certain way. So stretch, drink water. But I mean, that's a lot of things, but another one I would say too is just, enjoy the moment, because tomorrow will come. Like, and that's kind of a very poetic way of what Paul Wall said by simply drive slow, homie. Like, just enjoy it, feel it, you'll get older. Your time is ticking, whether you know it or not. But enjoy it and take advantage of everything in every moment that you're connected with, and be there wherever you are, be there, and don't focus on being elsewhere, because if elsewhere is for you, it'll be there for you. But right now is fleeting, and we got to take care right now.
Absolutely. That's brilliant advice. I love that. Being present is so big, especially, I mean, just being happy with your life and smelling the roses every once in a while, man. I love that. That was great advice. Stretch, stay hydrated, and be present. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt.
Hey man, I told you I'll build the brands, man. Just throw me some points on it, and we all good.
Oh yeah. I appreciate it, man. I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and spending some time with me. It takes people like you to make this dream of mine a reality, and I can't thank you enough for that. I hope and I wish you just tremendous success in all your endeavors, man, and just keep doing your thing. I'm very excited to see where this virtual reality Playbook 5, was it?
Yep, Playbook 5.
Playbook 5. Make sure you guys check that out. They got a beautiful website, and they got an awesome ad too that I saw. Who was that in the ad? The NFL getting out of the cryo tank.
Oh, Malcolm Smith. Yeah, Super Bowl 48. MVP, Malcolm Smith. Yeah.
So this is going to blow up and you might want to get your hands on it now. So
Appreciate that, man. Thank you for the time. Obviously, thank you for you know, for having me on and sharing your platform. And if I can ever do anything to help, or if you ever need any help or want any help, just reach out. And I always tell people all the time, man, if you strap it up one time, you're a part of my community. So we are brothers in this deal. They're very, like, I used the quantified analogy earlier of how many champions, etc. But hey, it's still football, same thing. It ain't but so many of us either. So we gotta have each other's back. We have to support one another. And we have to be each other's allies and advocates when needed. And that doesn't mean we're always going to agree on everything. That doesn't mean we're monolithic at all. But I think underneath it all, we have that common, that shared passion, that shared love, and that shared adoration for the game. And through that, we can find so much more, synergy. So yeah, appreciate you, bro.
absolutely. All right, man. Have a great night.
You too.